Okay, if I can call the room to order. Hello, everyone, and good evening, and welcome to this meeting of the Audit Committee. I am Councillor Kieran Khan, Chair of this committee. Normally, I would obviously welcome the public gallery, but we have no public gallery, so we'll be moving on. For those in the building, there will be no scheduled fire drills tonight. So, in an event of a fire alarm sounding, please leave the doors. Please leave via the main building and via the spiral staircase and through the main reception doors. Once outside, please turn left and make your way to the fire assembly point located beyond the multi-storey car park on Exchange Road. If you are unable to use the stairs, please wait in the council chamber and you will be guided by a member of staff to the evacuation lift. This meeting is being live streamed via the council's YouTube channel. Please note that there is no comments function as part of this webcasting. The council is the data controller and will retain the data collected during this webcast. This will be done in accordance with the council's publish retention policy. Councillors are reminded to take note of what's being displayed on the screens in the room as it shows what is being recorded and webcast. Cameras are currently set to capture you in seated positions, so please remain seated when speaking. You can request to speak as usual by raising your hand. Speak by pressing the button with the face on it, and the microphone will go green when you are live. It's important to remember that when you are not speaking, please turn your microphone off. So committee members and officers are reminded to be mindful that given this meeting is being live streamed, any comments made and responses given must not contain exempt information. So if we would like to move on to apologies for absence. So have we received any apologies?
We haven't, Chair, no.
Okay, great. So now we'll be moving on to disclosures of interest and declarations of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest councillors wish to declare? Okay, great. Now, thank you. Now moving on to the approval of the minutes. Does the committee approve the minutes of the meeting of the Audit Committee held on the 3rd of December 2024? There seems to be no objections, so that's great. So the next item would obviously be public question time, but we have no members of the public, so we will be moving on. The next item on the agenda is the completion report for those charged with governance year ended 31st of March 2024. So I will ask Hazan Horisham, partner at Ernst & Young, to please present this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Hassan Rohim, and as the Chair has just said, a partner at EY. It's my first year as the partner in charge for the audit of Crawley Borough Council. So I've taken over from Liz Robinson, who was previously the partner responsible. I will briefly take you through our audit completion report, which is on the agenda today. So first of all, taking you to your page 8 in the executive summary. So on page 8, it sets out the context of the audit in the context of the department, the government's and the FRC's measures to address the local audit delays, as would have been communicated to you at the previous audit committee meeting on the on 21st of November. We issued a disclaimer opinion on the 22-23 accounts, which if you're looking at the text which is there on page 8, that formed part of phase 1 of the recovery period. Phase 2, which we're in now, requires that audits for the 23-24 financial statements are concluded by the 28th of February, and that includes the issuing of disclaimed opinions if the work could not be undertaken, and also where disclaimed opinions have been previously issued. As outlined in the scope update, we presented our audit planning report at the meeting of the 9th of July. We were originally planning to undertake our work from the week commencing the 3rd of June. Whilst the team were resourced to undertake the audit, the statement of accounts weren't available at that particular period. They were subsequently published on the 13th of August, which is after the date which we had the team booked in to undertake the audit. Subsequently, we were unable to undertake our plan procedures, and as a result, we're unable to undertake our plan procedures ahead of the 28th of February backstop date, and as a result, we're going to be issuing a disclaimed opinion on the 23-24 financial statements. Section 2 of the report contains information which we're required to communicate to you. So it sets out, it provides information in respect of our audit scope, the materiality levels which are relevant for the audit of the financial statements. It also contains a summary of the risks which were identified as part of our audit planning procedures and which were included within the audit planning report, highlighting where those risks were there in the prior year, whether they were a significant risk or an inherent risk, and also if there are a new risk for that for the 23-24 audit. Within that section of the report, so on pages 14, your pages 14 to 15, we also confirm our independence. The only work which we undertake in addition, the only non-audit service work which we undertake is the certification of the housing benefits return. Section 3 of the report provides a summary of the findings. Again, we have to report these in line with international standards and auditing, even though we're issuing a disclaimed opinion. An element of work which we have undertaken is in relation to our value for money responsibilities, and details of those are contained within section 4 of the report, so from your page 2021. So in respect of our value for money responsibilities, we do have responsibilities to assess the arrangements which the council has in place against the 3 criteria: financial sustainability, governance, and improving economy, efficiency and effectiveness. So those criteria are defined by the National Audit Office. As part of our planning procedures, we didn't identify any risks of significant weakness in arrangements, and based on the work that we've undertaken, we haven't identified any significant weaknesses in arrangements. The commentary in relation to those three criteria are outlined on your pages 23, 24 and 25, and also within Appendix E of the report there's the detailed commentary against the sub-criteria for each of those key themes. I'll just briefly touch on what we've outlined on pages 23 to 25. So in relation to financial sustainability, so on page 23 of the report, we highlight the priorities of the council and also the arrangements in relation to budget setting. We do outline, based on the work we've undertaken, we do kind of outline for members' attention that that overall, as you'll be aware, general fund balances have reduced significantly in 23-24, and we outline that there's a risk in in relation to future financial sustainability if of reserves decreasing at that level. And as such, we making a recommendation there that the council will need to ensure there are clear and costed plans for identifying and delivering required savings, and that those plans should be subject to robust monitoring and review to ensure where relevant mitigating actions are identified for any areas of non-delivery. Overall, we're not reporting a significant weakness in the arrangements, but just flagging that as an area of attention going forwards. Also on page 24, in respect of the governance criteria, so included within the governance criteria, we look at the arrangements for financial reporting, and we highlight there that the 23-24 accounts were not prepared by the specified date, and the recommendation there is that the council should have arrangements in place to prepare the financial statements in accordance with the timetables specified by the accounts and audit regulations. The section 5 of the report includes the appendices. Within Appendix A, I'll just draw out for your attention, is the management representation letter, and I've also previously mentioned in terms of Appendix E containing the findings against the detailed criteria in relation to our value for money responsibilities. Not proposing to take you through any further pages within the reports, but happy to answer any questions which members may have.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. I will now open up this item for debate. So, as always, please indicate your wish to speak by raising your hand. Are there any speakers? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. So my first question is regarding, as you explained, I think it's actually more from management than from yourself. So in the scope update section of the report, it's page 8, you stated that the reason for the auditor's inability to complete the audit by the backstop date was due to delay in receiving the account from management. So I just want to check, and it's from management. Could you clarify why we were unable to provide the required information to the auditor in a timely manner? Is there any specific reason?
Okay. Thank you, Chair. I mean, I think as members are aware, there was a significant delay in the audit for 21-22, which meant that the accounts weren't signed off until January 24. And then at the last meeting, you signed off the accounts for 22-23, which sort of led to a backlog in the finance team, because we had to go through and restate everything. So really the delays just the sort of the resources that we've got in the department, because we have a small team that deals with budgets, final accounts, monitoring. So it was just really a manpower thing, because we were sort of working on two sets at the same time.
Thank you. And the question is, what arrangement do we have for this year? Are we better placed compared to last year?
We certainly are better placed this year. With this disclaimer, we're then up to date. There'll be no changes to this set of accounts, and I'm happy to sort of report that the audit has started already. There are already queries on the portal which members of the finance team are picking up, and we are fully staffed. I think you were aware last year we have a team where I don't think anybody in the central finance team has been there for more than 2 years doing the same job. But they've gone through a sort of rapid training program. The auditors have very kindly offered to come and do a bit of training as well on things like the sort of levels of evidence and good practice in working papers, which will really help next year's audit. And I think although we've not worked with Hassan's team for that long, when we had Liz here last time, I think she did give us a sort of the seal of approval that we were going in the right direction on the sort of improvement on the way we work, and a lot of it's going to be around the quality of working papers.
Thank you. So my next question is again from management, and it's on page 43. Under governance arrangement, it is stated that conflict of interest training is provided to staff and committee members. So I just want to check, could you clarify the scope of this training and provide some indication of completion rate? I've just noted that I think I haven't done it. I'm not sure about the committee members. So it's page 43.
Chair, if it helps. So all councillors who sit on the audit committee undergo governance training when they do their induction as a councillor, and there's occasionally refresher training to that. So conflicts of interest are covered in the councillor code of conduct, which sits within the council's constitution. So members have had training on that, and they have access to the democratic services team and myself as monitoring officer if they have any governance or conflict queries, particularly around declarations of interest at meetings or on certain items. And in relation to officers, again, conflicts of interest sits as a policy within the Constitution, the Officer Code of Conduct, and obviously within the terms of council officers' terms of employment. I hope that helps.
Thank you. Is this a training for all staff, or so, because it referred to the training given to every staff, and if it is a training given to all staff, what's the completion rate?
I think probably on induction to the council, when an officer joins the council as part of their employment, they would undergo their induction, which would include certainly reference to the Officer Code of Conduct. I wouldn't say it would be as detailed as the members' training around governance. Depending on, we have a number of staff at this authority. They all have they'll have varying levels of involvement in certain things like contracts, for example, and tendering. But generally, all staff will have exposure and been referred to the Officer Code of Conduct. But in terms of numbers and completion rates, I don't have those to hand.
So it's right to assume that it's not an annual training. It's done at the time of induction.
It's not an annual training, no.
Thank you. So I have, my next two questions is from the auditor, and that is on page 17 under other reporting issues. You stated that the audit certificate cannot be issued until the NAO has provided its group instructions. Have these instructions now been received?
No, so we're still waiting for confirmation as to whether the NAO will require further procedures of auditors, and we've yet to be informed of that. So in which case the opinion will be issued without being certified as closed. So without the audit being certified as closed.
Thank you. And my last question is in relation to the audit procedures performed. I understand that you have not performed full audit procedure, which give you a reasonable assurance, but I think you have performed some procedures. So if that is the case, then do we know that in page 8 you have mentioned different risk? What level of procedures you have performed to mitigate, against that risk? And what is outstanding, which cannot give you a reasonable assurance? Just want to gauge how much assurance we can get from the work you have performed.
Sure. So what the work that we have performed, we undertook our planning planning procedures. We've also undertaken the work which we're in relation to our value for money reporting responsibilities. As outlined in Appendix H in terms of summary assurances, because we didn't receive the financial statements when we were originally scheduled to undertake the work. We weren't able to undertake any work in relation to the financial statements, and as such, there are no assurances in respect of the account areas contained within the financial statements, which is highlighted in Appendix H of the report, and hence why we're issuing the disclaimed opinion which we are issuing.
Thank you, and thanks for your comprehensive report. It's very helpful. Thank you. Thanks, Mr.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker I have is Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Chair. It's really to Carolyn, just on your something that you said while you were speaking, so I thought I'd bring it in now. It will come under agenda item 6, but it's to do with the financials. And I noticed that under debt interest payments on page 6 on the financials, that we've got budget for 8402, we've got outturn of 8042, and we've got 0 as the variance, but it is actually a difference of 360k. And you said that the accounts weren't going to be altered. And I'm sorry, I've been in Florida, so I've only just sort of seen that today. But it is a 360k discrepancy, and it's on the actual accounts on agenda item 6. But it's just to flag that up.
Yes, in the narrative report, and I think that is just a typo, so we can fix that easily. So yes, there's always one that gets through, so yes.
Hello, thank you. Councillor London?
Thank you. First of all, to the auditor, thank you for your report and for your introduction. Just a couple of questions to maybe give a bit more context around how common this is that councils fail to produce the audited accounts in the time that they said they were. So, you know, I assume you cover sort of a range of councils in your role as a partner, and you sort of cover a few of them. How many of them are in the same position as us, where we couldn't produce our accounts in the time that was agreed, and therefore going to have an unfinished audit by the backstop date?
Okay. In terms of general context, the whole position where the government has put in place the procedures which it has put in place in terms of the reset will kind of be an indication that there are issues within the local government sector as a whole, kind of issues in terms of accounts preparation, and also kind of issues in terms of capacity of auditors, and also complexity of some of the financial reporting arrangements, and including, like, for example, some of the complex arrangements which some authorities have got into in terms of subsidiaries, etc., and accounting arrangements. So there's a whole range of issues out there which have been reported in various reviews, and so I would say there are a number of authorities where there were, and as the PSA have kind of reported, where there were disclaimed opinions issued for 22-23, so to meet the backstop date of the 13th of December last year. Following on from that, the FRC has published guidance in terms of what happens when there's been a disclaimed opinion for 22-23, and the process by which auditors will need to consider in terms of rebuilding assurance. And under the FRC's guidance, it outlines that the disclaim opinion will continue for 2 years subsequent to 22-23, and then also you'd have in the third year you'd have a modified report on an exception basis, and then in the fourth year when you get back to an unmodified position. So there are a number of authorities who are going to be receiving disclaimed opinions for 23-24, the year of audit. I think there have been some challenges within the sector in terms of some authorities being able to produce their accounts, but I don't have numbers to the top of my head. But in the main, I think in the main, authorities have kind of met the reporting timetables. But as Carolyn has outlined, there's been some some particular challenges which the finance team have been facing in respect of 23-24, which kind of impacted on the preparation of the 23-24 accounts.
Okay. Can I just follow up on one particular point there, and then I'll let you come back? Just to clarify, no matter whether we presented our accounts in time or not, because of the disclaimed opinion that was forced on us in effect for 22-23, we were always going to have a disclaimed opinion for 23-24 and some of the following years as well. That
is correct. You would have had a disclaimed opinion for 23-24, but we may have been in a position where we would have undertaken some work on the 23-24 accounts. What I would say is that we had the team booked in, and then when the accounts were available, we then didn't have another slot ready to then come back in because of other work that we had scheduled to undertake, to come back in and review the accounts when management had actually prepared them. Okay.
Sorry, you wanted to speak as well.
Yes, just to get back to the sort of missing of your slot. I mean, the issue really is the audit market is broken. There aren't enough auditors. We missed our slot, but we have been ready since we published our accounts. So if we had been able to get a slot, we would have commenced on this audit. And I have to say, Hassan's team did try and find us a slot. They just weren't unable to reschedule. So it was very unfortunate from both sides. And as for sort of councils with sort of clean audit reports for 2023, they're a rarity. I mean, if you read the press, some councils which have had actual sort of problems getting their audits over the line have had to go and have had disclaimers for the last 5, maybe even 6 years. So we're not unusual. We heard from EY last time that we did lodge our accounts on time and they still weren't audited. So it's just something we've got to take on the chin and get on and get 24, 25 audited on time and, slowly unwind the sort of disclaimer system.
Can I just come back? Sorry, I was just... so thank you to the auditor for that. And I'm just going to come back to sort of the officers. Thank you for that. And yeah, I think it's fair to say that I hope you agree you'd rather not be in this situation, all things told, but this is the situation we're in. I guess my only other question was, obviously this is the first we're hearing of it as an audit committee, unless I've missed it in previous meetings. Was there any reason that we weren't told that we'd missed our audit slot? Was it because you were trying to sort of get the recovery slot in and hopefully it wouldn't impact? I'm just intrigued to know why this is, we're having to find out in effect when this was published a week ago, which, I'd have thought we might want to let us know, well, we're going to continue having these issues for a little while as evidenced by this and sort of be forewarned rather than told in a more public arena. That's my only sort of question, whether we could be informed sort of as you're finding out about, not necessarily as you're finding out about it, but once it's happened, maybe be informed sort of so we know before we get the audit report from EY that we've missed it, basically.
No particular reason. I suppose this committee only meets quarterly. At the time, I think we were still hoping to get a slot. Then things were overtaken with the disclaimers all around. And yes, we should have reported it at the last committee.
Okay, Councillor Hellier. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. I just have a question just in relation to it's really a follow-on from my colleague here, is how does this affect us as a council in terms of having a statement of going concern when we can't really identify some of the weaknesses that are there because we haven't been able to actually complete things properly?
I think in terms of going concern within the public sector, there is a presumption of going concern because it would require statute for a local authority not to be in existence. So that's one kind of issue in terms of the going concern. But obviously, when as part of an audit, we'd look at your liquidity position within our value for money reporting. So in relation to financial sustainability, we've concluded that there aren't any significant weaknesses in arrangements, but we have kind of highlighted the issue which I raised when I went through that particular part in terms of a significant utilisation of reserves in 2024, and then making the recommendation that we did make in terms of ensuring that there are processes in place for monitoring savings and ensuring they're fully costed. I think officers will be in a better position in terms of to be able to provide you with an update as to what the kind of current plans are in terms of the medium-term financial strategy, what the position is in terms of the council's expectations on where it's going to be, forecasting to be outturning in terms of the reserves position.
Right, are there any other speakers? Yep, Councillor Belvin, thank you.
Thank you. Just a little bit in the defence of our accounts team. 23 accounts were backstop was December, am I right? So to have 24 accounts backstop February, you're really playing catch up big time, aren't you? And perhaps our team were expecting that backstop to be a little bit later if 23's backstop was December.
I agree. There's a very short period between the backstop date of the 13th of December for years up to 22-23 and the backstop date of 28th of February for years 23-24. But they are the dates which were set by the department. The next backstop date for the 24-25 accounts is the 28th February next year. So it gives a longer run in to undertake the procedures which we'd be expecting to undertake in relation to your 24-25 accounts.
Crucially, when was the backstop for 24 released, please? When did we know that the backstop was going to be?
It would have been released when the department set out its proposals for the reset of the local government audit market, and that would have been. I don't have the exact dates in with me, but it would have been round about September last year, I think, if I remember correctly. I don't know if Carolyn's got the precise date.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact date, but it was held up by the election because, there was draft legislation, and it's been a bit of a whirlwind.
So basically, you couldn't have known when we missed this, or that they were going to suddenly impose such a short backstop for 24, really.
I mean, ideally, we would have just had a late audit.
Yeah.
If both sides had, but ideally, and what's happened is, I mean, it's an unfortunate position, and it's where we are now.
Yeah. The reason why I'm labouring the point is I just want to make, the fact that, the rug was pulled a little bit underneath officers' feet to suddenly have this backstop imposed as being February when 23 was December. And it must have been a difficult thing to
Councillor Hilton, did you want to?
Thank you, Chair. Well, I'm new to the committee. I did have a bit of a briefing yesterday about a statement of account, so I've got a reasonable interpretation, understanding what goes on. I just want to ask a quick question on page 23, just in terms of the recommendation. Obviously, as a member of other committees, I see the quarterly budget monitoring, etc. Is there anything specific? And I hear what you say about reserves and keeping a close eye on things. Is there anything specific the Audit Committee should be aware of in terms of systems in place to ensure robust monitoring takes place? Is there anything else which could be done?
No, as we highlight there on your page 23, that we say in terms of our overall conclusion that we haven't identified any significant weakness in arrangements. The recommendation is just there in terms of an authority being in a position where reserves have gone down, and it's always the case that once you use your reserves, they're not there. They're not there again. So it's not going to be a recurrent position. And it therefore then makes it more challenging in future years to achieve that sustainable position. So, and it does require the delivery of savings, which is an issue that's facing a number of local authorities in terms of ensuring financial sustainability. It's because, as I said, the reserves are just there once.
Yep.
Thank you, Chair. Just a very quick question, and following up on my previous question regarding conflict of interest. I think what you mentioned in the report is a regular training is provided. And I think we have learned that it is at the time of induction. So I think for factual accuracy, you may amend it.
Okay. Yeah, noted. We'll review that particular element in liaison with officers.
Thank you, Chair.
I'll just say one more. Just for transparency, we talk about conflict of interest. I should report on the next agenda item that I do work for HMRC in terms of page 47. But I don't think I have to declare personal interest.
Are there any others? Are there any other speakers on this item? Okay, great. All committee members have had the opportunity to speak. The recommendation that the report is noted. Are we all in agreement with that recommendation? Councillor Lunham is not here, so what do we do? We'll just take the vote. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, next. So, right. We now move on to the approval of the statement accounts for 2023 to 2024, which starts on page 13 of the main agenda pack, noting that Appendix C is contained with the supplementary agenda on page 51. I will ask Vicky Basley, Chief Accountant, to please present the report. Thanks.
I'm afraid you're stuck with me, Chair. Thank you. Right. So you've attended the Statement of Accounts training on the 29th of January, which was held by the Chief Accountant, who took us through the detail of the accounts for the year ended 31st of March 2024, and or you received a recording of the session, which I hope you all found comprehensive. Councillor Hilton has also had a separate briefing yesterday, so hopefully we're all up to speed as to the statement of accounts. We've also, in the meantime, answered a number of questions, and the committee were copied into the replies. You've had a comprehensive report from the external auditors. You considered the statement of accounts for 22-23 at the last meeting of the committee, which was issued on the basis of a disclaimed audit opinion. So you are unfortunately familiar with the process. So unless there are any other questions, I would like to suggest you go on to the recommendations. Thank you, Chair.
Do we have any speakers on this? Councillor Heather, you're the first hand I saw. So.
Yes, sorry, it's just one question. It's just in relation to the major repairs reserve, and can we sort of clarify why we've actually used that as part of the general reserve, and not for repairs? Is it because we've got sort of 20 million here? This is in the HRA accounts on page 41. So I just wondered why we specifically haven't used a major repair reserve for major repairs and we're using them for other things.
You're right, it is just for the HRA, so it's a reserve that's held for major repairs, but also out of that we can fund the loan repayment for the self-financing loan. So yes, those are the sort of two things that get paid out of it, and it is purely for the HRA.
Sorry, I saw it was for HRA, but I just wondered why we called it repair reserve when we're actually not really funding repairs. That's all.
Sorry, that's the statutory name for it. It is called the Major Repairs Reserve, and it refers to a capital reserve for the housing revenue account. So you've got the housing revenue account balance, which is revenue. Then you've got the major repairs, which is capital. You can only use it for capital expenditure. So we can use it for development. We can use it for the sort of stock condition, the sort of major repairs. And we can use it for loan repayments. And the HRA is unusual in the sense that when we talk about the general fund and we talk about depreciation, and I sort of talk about hokey-cokey accounting where, you know, you do all the adjustments and then under statute you have to reverse it all back out, otherwise it hits the council taxpayer. For the HRA it's different. The depreciation gets charged to, it gets charged, but it becomes an allowance in the major repairs reserve. So you just make a decision at the end of the sort of financial year whether you use it to pay down debt or you let it build up. So I hope that's a sufficient answer, but it is a statutory reserve that we have to have.
Thank you, Chair. So my first question is regarding pension disclosure. So I'm just wondering if you are aware of Virgin Media O2 case ruling in this case, which nullify all previous amendments in pension funds from 1997 to 2006, if not made after getting proper actuarial confirmation. And I understand that a lot of pension funds in the UK will be impacted with this ruling. So I just want to check if you have done an assessment of the changes and whether we comply with the requirement that is set out in the Pension Act, I think it's 1993.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chair. I'm not a pension specialist, but I can get assurance from the actuaries and do a written reply for the committee. It's not something I've been made aware of that we've not compliant, so I would assume we are, but I can't give that assurance tonight.
Yes, it's a latest. I mean, it's a recent court ruling which will impact a lot of pension funds in the UK, and it will potentially result in increase in pension liabilities. So I think we need to do an assessment of that. And then on page 49, there is a reclassification of 557,000 intangible asset. Do you know what it relates to? It's note 17. That's
the intangibles note reclassification. Yes, having gone through the asset register, we realised that a few assets were just classified wrongly, so it's just correcting that. Sometimes when things go on the asset register, we sort of have to look through it to make sure that it's obviously intangibles is all our software and licenses and that kind of thing. So it's just, I think that was just probably where something hadn't been split right before, and that's us correcting it in this note.
So it was previously classified as fixed asset, or
It would have been, off the top of my head, I don't know. I can have a look and come back to you on that one as well.
normally when we have reclassification, there is a small note which actually explains what it's all about, but it's fine. And then on page 60, I've noted that we have cash in hand balance of 3.3 million. Last year it was 0, I think. Is it correct? 3.3 billion cash in hand.
So again, that will be part of our treasury management activity and sort of what investments we've got out at year end, which can be different each year end depending on cash flow and investments and maturities.
Is it cash? Because the heading is cash in hand. Because there is another heading for call deposits. So I was just thinking if it is a short term, then it should be, and it is in bank, then it should be there rather than cash in hand.
Yes, it will be cash effectively that we can,
Oh, so it's hard cash.
Yeah, we can get our hands on sort of immediately. It's not tied up.
Oh, right, okay.
It won't be tied up. It's immediately available. So.
On page 71, related party transaction, I think we have disclosed transactions related to central government and chief officers. So I just want to check why other local government and pension funds are not, we didn't regard them as a related party and disclose our transactions and balances with them.
Again, I would just have to double check that one and come back to you on that question.
Yeah, because I think other local government should be a related party in my views, but yeah. Thank you. And then in office remuneration section, why is the chief executive salary for 2023 and 24 listed in 2 rows? I think unless there is a specific reason, this duplication is not adding any value. And then additionally, head of corporate finance salary for the period 20 January 2023 to 28 February 2023 is not mentioned. So, I'm just checking, is it an error or?
There was change in staff, so we sort of reflect the outgoing chief exec and the new chief exec coming in, so it was 2 separate lines. And the same with Caroline coming in.
Do I have to declare an interest?
I don't know. So it's just reflecting changes in officers.
Okay, thank you. And the last question is just for my knowledge, and it's in the pension note. We have 2.1 million adjustment related to interest on effect on the asset ceiling. So I was just wondering what it relates to.
Again, the pensions are not my specialist area, so we rely on the actuary for that specialist advice. But we have to put in an asset ceiling, which just sort of caps the pensions asset that we potentially would have access to, if we were sort of wound up. But yeah, there's a calculation behind the pensions asset. But say it's a specialist actuary that does that for us.
Yes. Sorry, Chair. Unfortunately, it's been a while since we compiled these reports, and we'll go back and unless you'd like another copy of the pension report, that's readily available.
I don't know. It's absolutely fine. It's just for my knowledge because I haven't seen it before, so I just want to check what it is. But if it comes from actuarial report, I think that's absolutely fine. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Hellier, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. It's just one question, just in relation to agency services on section 30. And it's just really between 22-23 and then 23-24. I noticed that the income share has been significantly reduced. So in income raised from fees and charges in 22-23 was 100% income share, and then when you look to the 23-24 accounts, it's gone from 1023, and then the income share is only 611, and I just wondered why that was. It's on page 60, 67 or 83, depending on 67 on the actual accounts. So under section 30, agency services, under cash flow statement, investing activities. So it's in the accounts, I think, page 67, as opposed to the other numbers.
Sorry, Chair, we are going to have to go back and get you the detail for that.
Yep, Councillor Balvin, thank you.
Just a quick question, which I'm sure you know, we've got an asset there for sale as a current asset. Has that subsequently been sold, and is its value fairly reflected at 1.6 million as at the 31st of March 24?
It hasn't been sold because it's part of a development scheme that I think is still ongoing. So we will obviously revisit that again at the end of this financial year. But at the time we thought, you know, it was going to be, so which is why it was moved into that category. But, oh yes.
Things never happen as quickly as you think they're going to.
Okay, do we have any other speakers on this item? Any other councillors want to make any comments? Oh.
Just want to make a quick point. I've read it very quickly, and I've noted a few small typos. So I think someone probably need to read it to make sure that, like for example, one in pension note where you say see pension note 36 for further detail. So 36 is leases. So I think we probably add a note, and which actually just. So I think someone probably need to read it and before we publish. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, are there any other comments? Okay, great. All right. So all committee members have had the opportunity to speak. Is everyone happy for us to take one combined vote on the recommendations as set out on paragraph 2.1a to d of the report? These recommendations relate to approving the accounts following any minor recommendations, non-material changes or amendments relating to this item. Deregulation authority of the letter of representation and statement of accounts to be signed, endorsed of the annual governance statement, and requesting that the annual governance statement be re-signed on the basis of disclaimed opinion.
I want to make one point, Chair, and this regarding to pension fund, where I make reference to the court case VMO2. So I think an assessment is needed to see if we incur any other liability because of that court ruling. So I think subject to that, I'm happy to.
Councillor?
I'm not sure it's relevant to the accounts for the year. If the court ruling has only just come out, I'm not sure how it's relevant to the accounts for 23-24 because it couldn't have been applied to the council 23-24 if the court ruling hadn't been made until recently. So while I agree that we obviously do need to make a pension, we need to understand what implication it has. I can't see what impact it has on the 23-24 accounts. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think we can probably take an opinion from auditor, but in my views, because it relates to 1997 and 2016, so relates to past event, and court ruling just clarify something which was already there. So condition existed before the ruling. So in my view, probably an adjusting event, but I think we have an expert on this.
In respect of the Virgin Media case, my understanding, and I'll confirm with officers tomorrow, is that from another authority in terms of members of the West Sussex Pension Fund, is that it's not applicable. But I can I'll review that tomorrow when I and then put forward on the relevant information which I saw. I remember seeing something in relation to the West Sussex Pension Fund that it wasn't applicable. But I'll confirm that tomorrow if I'm correct or not.
Chair, it is essential that we get this over the line today because we need to meet the backstop deadline. So, I mean,
Mine would only be subject to the debt interest payment figure being correct. Okay.
yeah, I mean, I think, Chair, that the recommendation is to give the delegation. So if you can leave me to sort out the sort of snagging bits, then we're in a good position to meet the backstop date. Thank you.
Right, so if everyone is happy with that.
Okay, sorry. I just want to check if everyone's happy to do a combined vote, but when we've got to the approving the accounts, if we just say following any minor amendments that Caroline can be delegated authority to action those. Is everyone happy to do a combined vote on recommendations A to D? Okay. Right. So is everyone happy to agree those?
Yeah. Okay.
Amazing. Thank you.
Cool.
I'm interested in the point that you made about the ruling. Never heard of it before. I won't pretend I have done. Will we get advice on to whether that impacts us or not?
The representative from EY said he thought it wasn't applicable to West Sussex, so he's going to report back to us.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that. But what we've just voted on doesn't affect these accounts, does it? No. Okay. Yeah.
I think he will confirm it tomorrow, whatever. That's what he said, that if it is applicable or not. Yeah.
Right, we are moving on to item 7, the supplementary agenda, but there is no supplementary agenda. Therefore, with the business of the committee concluded, this meeting is now closed at 8 o'clock on the dot. So, thank you. Oh, and the next meeting is scheduled for the 17th of March, 2025. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you.
Just bear with me whilst I just turn off the live feed.